Hi there, welcome to Victim to Victor, the podcast dedicated to empowering abuse survivors and inspiring healing, hope, and positive change. I'm Verma, a published author, and in every episode, I'll sit down with a guest and embark on an insightful conversation about trauma, as well as practical strategies to start the healing process. So let's get started. I hope you enjoy the show. And here is Mr. John Goff, all the way from Utah. Hey.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you for asking. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great.
Or I think more tonight on your end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the nighttime, which gives me that kind of peace and quietness where I can actually record my shows. And it just gives my guests like yourself the flexibility to do it in the daytime. So yeah, it works wonders. I do love your back screen. What is that? Is that like
It's actually one of my wife's tapestries. Wow. She is an artist and is like finishing school right now. Okay. So she has a little bit left and have her bachelor's degree done. So she does amazing artwork.
I love that. It's very healing. It just seems very mystique.
Yeah.
So John, it'd be great for you to kind of educate my listeners as to who you are and your backstory, because I know we've all got a backstory who are on this show, and I know yours revolves a lot around what my show's name is, From Victim to Victor. So yeah.
Okay, well, I'm John Goff. I'm 36 years old. I was for the first 4 years of my life raised in a very destructive, drug addictive, abusive household. My biological mother, she was a legitimately a pimped out whore. So I was surrounded by heroin, coke, pimps, like anything you can name when it comes to drugs and sex. That's what I was around. And I remember from a very, very young age, and this comes with the trauma and the remembrance from having PTSD. I remember being 2 years old, and what I understand now, my mom not making enough money, running her rounds, and her pimps raping me and my brothers and having her watch as we were sexually assaulted and beat, and then her being sent back out until she made enough, and that continued for years. So then when I was around 4 years old, maybe 5, I was taken away from my biological mother by a certain agency. SWAT teams came in. I don't remember if I was in a crack house or where it was, but I remember guns going off, and me and my brothers and other siblings and people being taken away. And then I was put into foster care. And then from foster care, I was in so many homes. I lost count how many homes I was in, but in every single foster care, and this is when I was in California in the US, I was put in a child porn. I was raped and beaten in every single foster home. So it wasn't until I was taken out of foster care, my grandparents ended up adopting me. And then while the sexual abuse stopped, I literally was having the crap kicked out of me constantly by my grandfather and grandmother until I was almost 17 years old. So in the process of they were putting me in martial arts, they were dragging her through the LDS religion. People might know as Mormons or Mormonism. So I was always indoctrinated to be submissive. I had already gone through hell. I was around, I said that the drugs, the abuse. So while yes, the sexual abuse stopped, they didn't have the mental capacity to understand. So you think that beating the crap out of me and my brothers after all the trauma we went through, that was going to improve us. If anything, it caused even more damage. I went to bed till I was almost 13. I had severe night terrors. I'd wake up just screaming, and I didn't know where I was. I was sleepwalking. That lasted till I was about 20. And even occasionally now, while it's not as severe, there's, sometimes I do wake up screaming still, or I do like, oh my gosh, like I just relive that. And I'm 36. So while it's not every single night is constant, there's still damage there. And part of the trauma is still initiated by smells, by sounds. I learned to become very, very observant of my environment. And this is where the martial arts really took over for me, of where I became the martial artist of nobody is ever going to hurt me again. I remember my grandfather, it was something about a Coke. I mean, literally a Coke that my grandmother said I could have. And then he's like, well, I'm going to take your $20 allowance for the week and something else. And I'm like, you better shut up or I want to pop you. And, by this time, I already had multiple black belts. I was good with what I did. I could have easily have stopped it even years before at a young age, but there was the fear. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I had no life skills. All I knew was how to defend myself and how to fight. And then I had my uncles who always told me if I ever used any of my martial arts skills to stop the abuse, that it wasn't that bad. It's discipline. Don't interfere. And if I did anything at all to defend me and my brother, that they would come and kill me in my sleep.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, that I had no right to lay a hand or defend myself against my grandparents. So there's that structure of, well, what if I really did stop it? What if, what would really happen to me? And then what would happen to my sibling? And there's a lot of constant fear, constant anxiety of what's next.
Yeah.
And then, and when's it going to be that place of, my grandfather was a gun lover. He used to make little comments to me. It's just like, you could punch it, kick great and do all this shit. Sorry if I do all this stuff, but what happens, when there's a gun to you, I love to see you stop a bullet. So I was always in that state of, damn, I'm just stuck. So finally at 17 years old, when we talk about the Coke and I'll pop you one. I was like, you know what? I'm really good at what I do. Go for it.
Right.
He's like, what? It was the first time in all these years of abuse. And then he's like, I was like, you know what? I'm like, hell with this. I'm making mom a widow today. And then I'm like, you are not going to hurt me anymore. And then I watched this man literally run and scream. And then he makes up a lie. I mean, this is what abusers do when they get caught. They try to justify or change setting that Marilyn, John's attacking me. Oh my gosh. I never hit him, never did anything. And then I told her the same thing. You and dad are never going to hit me again. Right. Then I'm like, and then maybe a month later, I moved out of the house.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah. So how about in this, now, are they still around?
They are. I haven't talked to them for about 3 years. Okay. We had a period of almost 2-3 years that we didn't talk, and then try to rekindle things, and then I might see if anything could work. And my grandfather gave me a really half-assed apology, and for what he did. The excuses of, well, we went through this with your biological mother, and then having injuries and having fake knees and whatever, like all the excuses, instead of just simply, I was abusive, I was wrong. I made mistakes. There was some of that, but there was also, we did the best we could, and I tried taking it for what it was, and try to accept it, but it was still the same thing. Even as an adult, you think hollering, you think raising your voice, you think intimidation is really a way to go. It's like, my grandfather had no self-esteem. When his grandfather, when he was born, his father was almost 70 years old. When he was born, so he didn't grow up with a dad figure. He grew up with a mother who was also very degrading, always condescending, and always putting him down. But he didn't stop it. It got passed on to his kids. They got passed. It was being passed on to us. So it was a continuous cycle that he wasn't breaking. So even as an adult, it was the same thing. It was the religion. It was manipulation. It was in the name of God. It was all these things. It was a constant, but there was no purely, I'm sorry, I was wronged. What can I do to make it better? I had to figure that all on my own. I mean, between the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, meeting a girl, getting married, getting divorced, I had no concept of what love was. because these people are supposed to love you and protect you are the ones beating you and abusing you and sexually assaulting you. And then you get adopted. And then these people are supposed to take care of you. They're your grandparents. It's the same thing. They're abusing you. They're manipulating you. The emotional, spiritual abuse was very, it was severe. And then it's like, now you get the place of hormones are going, you're with the puberty, you're getting older. And then you think you don't understand what connection is. Everybody around me, I didn't see the abuse. I didn't understand the manipulation because I was around it so long that I had no concept of how do you have a real relationship? How exactly do you interact with people? Because I was always waiting for the next hurt. I was waiting for the next thing. And then it was the up and down, the hurt, the apology, the hurt, the apology. And I found myself very, very stuck. So even all my training, all my background, doing energy work really young, starting in Tai Chi and Qigong, just as young as I did martial arts, learning Reiki, learning all these things on the metaphysical scale. If I want to talk metaphysics and semantics of words, I felt I was more comfortable with my eyes closed, meditating on, ayahuasca and being out somewhere because I felt at home in those environments. But I didn't interact with the world great. And then I started traveling. I was in Thailand. I was in Burma. I was in Cambodia. I was in China. I was in Berlin. And then I'm like, everybody else in different cultures in the Western American culture was more love, more kind. And then I started to get a grasp of what it really meant to love, to have compassion, to see things differently. But it was a struggle. And then I started, opening up my work to people. And then when I watched people cry, break down and help them integrate and move through trauma, as I was, other ways I was moving through mine, I started shifting my focus from the hurt and then to the healing. Because if we're always focusing on the hurt, we're never going to get anywhere. We're going to relive that story. That is going to be our narrative. And I made a decision to let it not be mine.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And my next question was going to be about whether, you've received any form of apology from your abusers.
I haven't received anything at all.
No.
It's like I was always the black sheep. The way I believed, the things that I did, it went against Christianity as far as the LDS Church is concerned. My energy works of the devil. It's a mimicry of God. The adversaries got me. I'm gonna go to hell. Right. Everything that I was doing for me, that wasn't what they were identifying with for their story, their narrative, their life. It was a struggle. It's like I have other family members who have they had crazy sexed out orgies. They cheat on their partners. They're on drugs. They do all these horrible things. Crime in prison. And here I'm not doing any of that, but because I'm the grandson who's not LDS anymore, who doesn't believe what they believe, and even my biological mother, my grandparents started talking to again. The woman who also molested me, the woman who was on drugs, who was the prostitute, they could talk to her, but I was still the bad one because the way I love, the way I live, went against everything that they believe. But yet their direct family, their actual sons and daughters, the ones I call, brothers who are actually my uncles, and then my biological mom, and then call me grandma mom because of the adoption. It was very interesting the way that they look at the world. It's like your children are not the best children. They do a lot of things that hurt themselves and other people. It's not in love. It's not in humility. It's not in compassion. So when I decided about 3 years ago to cut things off from them, it was the best decision I ever made. I won't ever receive an apology. I've had other family members who still talk to me, talk to them. And they're like, we were there for the abuse. We know what John went through. We saw his childhood and we saw how bad it was when you guys adopted him. And they're in total denial. They think they did everything right. They did the best they could. And I'm just the ungrateful bastard who's an apostate, who's not going to go anywhere with my life. And here I am doing what I do. And it's the best thing I could have ever done.
Wow. And so tell us about the meditation, because that absolutely transformed your life.
Oh, it did. No, when I was able to finally, just sit with myself, and I mean, it didn't matter where it was, between monks teaching me, different martial arts masters, the grand masters teaching me, they had a common theme: learning to be with yourself, learning to be with the breath. And that's what I'm really convicted on, outside of just the energetic healing that I do, is teaching people to breathe again. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Well, if you're talking, you can breathe. Oh, there's so much anxiety. Okay, let's just stop for a minute.
Yeah.
When was the last time you just sat down, no cares in the world, it doesn't matter what's going on, because we all have 24 hours in a day. Nobody's time is different. How we use it is up to us. And you took a minute. Let's start with a minute. Something simple. Breathe in through your nose, slow, breathe out through your mouth. Very, very basic. Let's go. Very mediocre meditation techniques or relaxation techniques. Hey, okay, now let's do 2 minutes. And in 5 minutes, shows you how many people do not know what it means to sit with themselves and be present, just to go into stillness, go into silence. And after 5 minutes, have so many people tell me they feel better than any drug. They feel better than the medication they take. And wow, they didn't understand or realize the power of stillness, the power of being present. And that's only after 5 minutes of basic breath work. No meditation, no, as far as like deep visualization, no mudras, there's no positions, just sitting down like I am on the couch right now,
5
breathing
minutes.
in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And then, we'd advance a little bit more. And then, whether it's a color, it's anything but black, whatever color they resonate with, that feels like a powerful energetic color, then it's something a little more advanced. Now you're breathing it in, we're going to fill your body with that color. And then we're going to do a color retention. You're going to hold it. And now you're going to find any sources where that color doesn't flow. It's in the knees, it's in the stomach, it could be in your elbow, it doesn't matter where it is. And now feel that tension, feel where that color's not flowing, where it's stagnant and stuck. And then when you breathe out, you're going to pull, that color's going to pull that blackness, that gray, whatever it is that you can't see clearly on. You're going to breathe out, you're going to release it back to the universe again, cleanse and whole. And we might do that for 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. And now you're energizing your body, you're teaching yourself the power of bringing any type of energetic light in. And now we go to maybe a different stage. I might have people do fire breathing. Let's heat the body up. But we don't have to go into the esoteric side of it, because some people get scared of any ideals that either they don't believe in or goes against what they believe in. So when I just give visualization, when I give basic breathing, and then different formats of breathing, that changes everything for people. And then once people start realizing, hey, look, I'm just a facilitator. Even if I don't do the energetic work, the Qigong work, the Reiki work, like say this energy work as a whole, we are our own shamans. The ability to heal, the ability to move forward, to get past the trauma, it's already within us. But sometimes we don't know where to look. It's like me and a common theme that me and my friend Dr. Travis Fox talk about. I don't do anything. I simply give you a couple tools. I give you the keys. You wake yourself up. So if you go, oh my God, thanks for waking me up. No, I didn't wake you up. I gave you a tool. That's all I did. I facilitated. But if you're not willing to receive and be able to take it in and then harness it with your own energy, let it flow, then there's really nothing I'm doing. I've been going, hey, do you feel this? What's that doing for you? Because it has nothing to do with me. At the end of the day, your trauma, your pain, whether you go to a therapist, where you go to me, you're seeing a doctor, we are still, another party that has nothing to do with us. And that way there's no attachment. So when we start detaching from the story and going back into ourselves, everything changes.
Yeah, it really does. And it's like, I just feel that people need to understand that all the answers are within. It's not in that pill that you've been told to take by your doctor. It's not in just, losing it and just, getting addicted to your work or getting addicted to your technology. It's actually just be in presence with your own being and just appreciating who you are, because we're all beautiful beings, and it's time that we started to understand that about ourselves. Yeah. And would you say that you still have PTSD?
That I'd say I have remnants of it, as where it's nothing like it was when I was a child, but some of my deepest healing is when I cut the ties from my grandparents. Literally, the night terrors, instead of being really really severe, and the other pains and some of the frustrations and the anger I still had, even in the work that I do, because I'm still human towards people and towards events, it dropped from maybe 100% to where it's still like, damn, it's still pretty bad, even though I'm doing work for people, maybe down to 20%. It dropped down so significantly because I cut those ties. The things that I was still attaching to, that I associated with what it means to be a parent, what I watched, what it means to be a husband or wife. And then I started doing things my way, how I was going to choose, how I was going to love, how I was going to live. Then the PTSD down.
Wow.
So now, a lot of the other parts of the PTSD was from some of the private contracting work that I did. And then some of the other things that I did, because I was still trying to cope. And I figured, if I'm already this calloused, if I'm already so messed up, then I can go do things. I can get paid a lot of money for it. And it's not going to make a difference. But it did make a big difference, because once the healing really started at the deeper levels for me, and it enhanced my work to get back to more people and the work that I do for them, I really look back and I'm like, damn, I caused a lot of heartache myself. I caused a lot of pain, but I chose to stop that cycle and to do things differently. And this really goes, especially because I do have 2 wives. I'll just say that live.
You have what? 2
wives.
Okay, go on.
So the way I treat them and the way we communicate, the way we interact, and I made a decision that, I have gay friends. I've had trans friends. I've had people, no matter what their stage, where they are mentally, spiritually, whatever. When I don't go to place of judgment, and if they make certain choices, it's like, who am I to tell them how to live and what to do? And then it's like, let them love the way they're going to love the way they're going to live. Because that's also, just like I was, a lot of them were raped. A lot of them were physically abused for feeling certain ways, thinking certain ways. So no matter what how to take it as, half said it's mental, half said it's real, it doesn't really matter to me, because it's real to them. And if I make that judgment towards them, I'm still victimizing them. And just like anytime somebody says something towards me, I'm like, no, you will not victimize me. You will not come into literally penetrate my energy field and try to come, when it's not warranted. So this is also part of the healing that I went through, is to be able, if I'm going to choose to have 2 women in my life and for us to live together, have our family, have our unit, that has also been one of the biggest healing things for me, because no, you can't do that. Says who? Says the Christian community, says the world, polyamorous, polygamy, whatever term you want to use it. It has been around since the age of time. But the difference is, so many people back to abuse. They are abusers. So they make the assumption that everybody in these relationships, they're having, these big crazy orgies. There's no respect. It's all pain. It's all about sex. No, we have the most beautiful, dynamic relationship. We care about each other. We support each other. And in my everything we build, they help me build my business and support what I do with my friend Dr. Fox. My one wife's going to school. My other wife's a personal trainer, and he's now a manager at Starbucks. What we do, it's constant love and support. And then when I really saw, wow, there's this cliche, there's this indoctrination, there's this big dogma of how we love and then how we don't love. So when we made a choice to communicate, to actually, really see each other, then I started seeing other people more too. And even let me see, hey, like, if we do these actions, it is abuse still. If other people do these things, it is still abuse.
Yeah.
And it's like, most people can't even handle like one person because there's fighting and there's control.
Yeah,
But with us,
exactly.
there's no control.
Yeah. And how about the two wives? Do they have a really good relationship as well?
Oh, they have an amazing relationship, and they treat each other like sisters, like best friends.
Oh,
And I'm like, yes, there's always little things with anybody that sometimes someone might get a little bit irked or something, but that's life because it's no different than us. But how we handle the things that come up, that's a whole different story,
yeah.
and we handle them really, really well. So if something comes up, we have our family meetings, and we'll sit down, we'll talk to each other. But again, back to communication, we don't communicate in awful ways or ways that are going to hurt anybody. We really want to hear each other.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I think that's amazing. God, you're a breath of fresh air. It's like you're changing this stigma, associated in relationships, which is, oh, you can only have one partner and they stay with you for the rest of your life. Who says, who wrote this book?
Yeah, exactly. Like we made that decision that if people can do certain things, and for me, I don't want to say I'm anti-religion, but I'm a spiritualist. I'm a metaphysicist. I have Catholic friends. I still have people who are LDS, that are still my friends. I have Buddhist friends, like you name it. I have friends of many different belief systems. I only have one big rule. I don't have a dogma. I don't have a script that I follow that says this is the way it is. For me, I listen to the universe. I listen through medicine. I listen through meditation. I listen through energy work, and deep things within, those realms that are yes, a lot of Eastern based, but a lot of them are even deeper than that. As long as you don't push anything on me or tell me that what we're doing is wrong, and you try to dominate me or my family with your belief system, we can have relationships. We can maintain friends. We can communicate. But the second anybody wants to bring, for me and my wives, God or condemnation into my household or to our lives, then you're out. There is no second chances. I will love you anyways, but it's not going to be something where we feel violated.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Yeah. It's boundaries and about just, knowing what you want and just not letting anybody else dictate your life. I think that's really important as well. And it feels like you've come a long way. And do you think that a lot of your energy work has a lot to do with this? Because I know that you're really into key energy. Yeah.
Yes. And then I'm like, like I said, so I started, I do martial arts really, really young, like 4 or so, and they continued. Even the grandparents putting me in, but then I got introduced to Qigong by a Chinese master when I was 11. And then I got introduced to the Korean version called Qigong, like when I was about 12. And at 16 years old, Grandmaster Jay Shin, even as a black belt, he started teaching me Neigong, which is the father art, and the things he was learning. Even though he was already Grandmaster of a Korean martial art called Tong Soo Do, he was studying Qigong and Neigong from the Shaolin Temple, and he started teaching me the father art really, really young. And at 18 years old, I got into Reiki, but when I say Reiki, I don't mean what a lot of people perceive as basic Japanese hand healing work. This is what Reiki is. In 3 days, you're just a master. I had a real traditional teacher who had their ties, in Japan. I had to wait so many years. I'm like, after my level 1, my level 2, then I get my level 3. You're the master title. But this is after working on a few thousand people. This is after writing a master's thesis. This is after implementing it. And, and then when I did the self work, and I was already doing Qigong and the Qigong and the Neigong, which is my body's already vibrating way before I ever started doing Reiki. So I was already doing deep healing work. I remember one of my teachers meeting me and then asking me, is this a test? I'm like, is what a test? I'm like, your chi energy is so strong.
Wow.
And I'm like, you've never been introduced to Reiki? And I'm like, no. So, and from there, it's like, even with my gifts and skills, they wanted me to appreciate it. They wanted me to really understand it. So I already had a major background, but I still had to take a long time. So in the process of everything I was learning, I'd work myself every day, but then back to breath work real quick. I found the commonality even with that. The Qigong is the influence the Koreans is in my to create Qigong. The father art which is hidden away in Tibet, is like in China, which have multiple names. Let's just go with the Gong. It was all about the breathing, how slow you can breathe, how much you can feel, and then really understanding, if I want to get sort of Star Wars style on you, the force around you.
Yeah.
But you can't feel any of it if you're not breathing.
Wow.
And then if you're able to see, able to hear, and then that really changed my life, because the more I was able to do, I remember holding my hand over my heart, and this might be cliche to people, but really doing the work, and I was doing some breath work, feeling, and then, well, I don't understand what's happening. And I just started crying. I just buckled over.
Wow.
And I felt like my heart was tabbed, and all this goo, this black tar, this oil, I'm literally seeing it in my mind's eye dripping out of me. And so much hate, so much rage was just gone. And then I understood it. Wow, even though I'm doing something that was taught to me that I do for other people, this is the self-work. This is what I'm trying to give to people. So I went to another body part. Then I went somewhere else. Then if you want to subscribe to chakras, I went to each chakra. I moved through different places in my body, and it clicked. I mean, it really clicked how much people are hiding. I thought I was pretty along the way and I was pretty healed up. But when I really did some deep work and I showed up for myself, there's a lot of trauma that is so hidden away. People don't even understand. So even after years, and they talk about the abuse, or they forget about it and they try to hide it away and into their subconscious, it's there. So and that, it was like, no, if I can do this deeper work, and if I can heal the way I've healed, I know I can help other people do the same thing. So that also changed the way I did my healing work too.
That's powerful. I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And you've just hit the nail on the head, because a lot of people think that they're okay when they've endured a lot of trauma during their childhood. They might think that they're okay, but they're really not. It'll be coming out in different ways, but they just won't recognize it. So what is it that these people need to do?
Honestly, there's no just one thing. But if we're going to talk about like base awareness, how are you eating? How are you walking? Who are your associates? Who do you call friends? What environments do you still put yourselves into that are too similar to the environment you said you wanted to leave? The sabotaging. Are you drinking? Are you on any type of medication from a doctor? And why? And I'm not attacking anybody who's overweight, but why are you overweight? Is it actually medical? Is it energetic? Is there a fear? I mean, and I've known a lot of women that I've worked with over the past 15 years. They've gained a lot of weight. It's not because they didn't love themselves. It's not because they're just gourting pigs and they just want to eat and they don't care. They gained the weight because they really believed, if I'm heavy, if I'm not attractive, another man won't hurt me. I won't be raped again. I won't be assaulted. So I'll make myself disgusting. But when they look in the mirror, they want to feel pretty. They want to feel powerful, but they also don't know how to feel safe. So that's just an example of things people go through. And I know the same thing even with guys, because males, just like me, they get sexually assaulted. And I don't want to say just as much, but more than what people realize. It's like, why are you so angry? Is it the religion? Was it the violation of things being pushed upon you? Was it the guilt and shame? Or what I call fog: fear, obligation, guilt, and shame. If I just want to use that as my own acronym, what was it? And then being aware of the source. And then, but don't ever think you found the one source, because I've seen that a lot, and that stops the healing. Oh, it was because of dad. Okay, but then wait, it was because of this. No, they might be a part of it, but you go to the place, and once you find part of it, now it's time to start learning not just how to heal from it. And I don't want to use the word letting it go or moving on necessarily, but being able to remember what you need to for you, but not letting it affect you anymore, and making the choice to let it be empowering, because you're alive. You have survived. You are here. You are now. and make the choice to not duplicate the experience to other people. You know, am I to be the change? There's a term within a lot of the hippie or medicine communities or some metaphysical groups. We are the change that we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Well, if we are the change that we've been waiting for, we have to be the change. We have to be aware of the things that we still do, the things that we did inherit from that trauma, from the experience. And not all of it's bad. And this is the thing that I'm gonna get a little bit touchy with a few people on just right now with you. Let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Yeah.
Not all experiences were bad. And that's what makes trauma so hard, especially when we were victimized. There, you know, there might have been moments of real love. It doesn't mean that there wasn't distortion. Doesn't mean that these people weren't sick. Doesn't mean that our own family members, especially when it's directly from people that we know or our families who abused us, it doesn't mean that there wasn't something real there. And that's what makes it even harder. Wow, I remember getting ice cream. I remember going to the movies, going camping. Yeah. But then I remember every other night, dad creeping to my door. I remember this. I remember that. You know, wow. Like some things get very, very tense. So now they try to go into the trauma, but they don't know how to face it. They don't, you know, they don't have the tools to face it. And that's something that I provide for people. I give them different ways to look at things, you know, different approaches. And a lot of these things are asking the right questions. Yeah. It's like, you know, I might have 1,000 answers, but they're my answers. Maybe one of my answers will fit you, but I have a lot of questions for you or somebody else to allow them to come up with an answer, not come up with an excuse. So when they start finding those answers for themselves, then the real healing starts to begin. Why was this so hard? Yeah. Because there's moments that I really love my mom, my father. There's moments that I really like, wow, I maybe uncle made a mistake, or maybe the next door neighbor, whatever it was. Okay, now what's next? So what do you want to get out of it? What would you like to see? And when you ask them an apology, sometimes there's no closure. Sometimes we don't get those apologies. We don't get a confront. We don't get the answers we're seeking for somebody else. And then people who have been victimized get stuck and they stay a victim because, you know, they felt that they needed it. Right. No, actually, you know, if you want to be scientific or even in psychology, you didn't actually need it, but you wanted to so bad because part of you, you know, was still holding on to it. You felt the need to scream. Yeah. So I've had people take a pillow. I'll just give you an example. Here's my pillow. Visualize them. We're going to the breath work. We're going to visualize and do the one thing you never did that's not in destruction. Not screaming with a bottle, not screaming when you're high, not taking it out on your partner or your kids, not being alone. Take that pillow, visualize, and let it out. Yeah. And then let it out. And whether it's 3 times in or 10 times in, the tears start flowing, the body shakes happen. And then I'll ask them when they're done, after we do a little more calming breath, how do you feel? I have never felt so peaceful in my life because they held on to that rage. They held on to that depression, that pain, that fear, that suffering. And they realized just from that, I don't have to suffer anymore.
Wow, that is impactful. So is this what you're doing in your life now? Are you healing people?
I do a constant, I do a mixture between Chinese cupping, gua sha, and then my energy work. You know, and I'm like, so if people come to me for physical problems, I always, you know, do a check. I ask them, check my website, check my Facebook, make sure I'm the right fit for you. You know, but if you have physical problems, I don't do massage anymore. And then I'm like, I only, you know, got the license so I can practice some of my other arts or my crafts in the state. But is it physical or is it energetic? And sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's neither. So if it's physical work, I'll do some gua sha, some cupping, you know, still doing healing work, but more on the physical side. But when it's something deeper, when it's trauma, when it's very energetic, that's when I really go into the deep work, and that's what I like to do. Yeah. And because of COVID, right now 90% of my clients are through video calls.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was my next question. Are you doing distant healing?
So do a lot of distance work. So I'll walk people through basic breath work, basic meditation. And then if they're in a position they want to, then I do my end. And then I ask them to allow me entrance, and that's what they want. Okay. And then to sit back and let me do what I do. And then, but stay open with me. Don't go silent, because I always try to make sure I'm gauging the work that I do. Whatever you hear, whatever you feel, if you start seeing images or anything start to happen, what we call SCR, a somatic emotion release. If you start to see or experience anything at all, if your body starts to heat up, if you start to feel tingly or twitching, it's totally okay. All I need a person to do is openly vocalize to me, what are you experiencing? And then if it starts getting too intense, I'll tone it down. But if I know what they're seeing with these releases, and that's why these ERs or these SERs, when they happen, wow, oh, okay, I'm hearing something. Hey, you're safe. What are you hearing? Okay, oh, I'm feeling this, or I'm seeing this. Okay, what is it? And when they really start to talk about it, then healing facilitates more. And they don't realize that's the only reason I'm having them speak to me. The more they vocalize, the more they're empowering themselves to actually, take right there and then what's actually happening, and they can do it. They can say it. But when I watch somebody go through something, okay, I know you're going through something. I see it on video. Or if I'm having it right in front of me at my house, then I'm like, I need you, not for me, but for you, I need you to speak. Take control, whether you want to say, open that throat chakra or use your voice. Come on, I need you to use your voice, because the second you use your voice, you're no longer silent. And a lot of trauma is silent.
It is silent, absolutely. And I was silent for many, many years. I think this is probably the first year that I've actually openly expressed myself about it. Decades of silence. I wasn't able to communicate, my feelings to anybody, or just even to say I love you. It was all just blocked, right? It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. But now, because I'm healing, and I feel like healing is a lifelong process, because there's always things that come up, right? Like triggers, and I just feel that, it's about just embracing, anything that comes up and just learning from it, rather than, thinking that the world's against you. And something that I believe in is the fact that, we see people and we see the world as we see ourselves. And I remember that I used to think that people were ugly. I used to think the world was ugly because I thought I was ugly. It's really powerful, isn't it?
One of the things I also teach for people in meditation, especially those who have been traumatized and they're really trying to have some release. So whether it's physical or sexual trauma, it could be a car accident, it could be a death, there are different levels of grieving, is that I have found more light. I have found more beauty in the darkness, in the silence, than I ever did walking in the sun.
Wow. Serious? How?
Because when I'm able to really just be, it's like, people say, oh, we're in darkness, you can't see. So I give an example. Imagine you're locked up. Yeah. You go into a dungeon. Like reality, it is a perceptually based ideal. It's a thought. The way we perceive the world can be different than the person sitting next to us. So if we're in silence, if you were in a cell or in a cave or whatever it may be, let's say we're just in darkness. I can't see. Actually, you can see better than you realize, but we've learned to only see with our eyes. We haven't remembered what it's like to see with our ears, to see with our hands, to see with our feet. When was the last time, a person closed their eyes? They go to a mountain, they see how beautiful it is, they pick up the rocks, but to walk up to a tree and actually close your eyes, feel the lines, feel the grinding with your fingertips, the way the paths feel, to listen to some of the sand or some of the rock might drop a little bit, to literally visualize without looking at it physically. Go around that room, understand, wow, it is squared. Oh no, there's a bump here. Oh wait, no, beneath my feet isn't stable. Without looking, and to really visualize and to see in a different way, that has been some of the most illuminating parts of my life, is like, without having to look at it directly, but being able to really look inward, I was really able to see the events for what they actually were.
Wow.
Not the scared child, being abused, not the teenager being abused, like not the young adult male, going through the abuse of an ex-wife. I was really able to change it. As I know what, wow, this started from here. This is from great grandma, great grandpa. This is the generational abuse. This is this abuse. This is cultural abuse. And then see where it actually, was and how it was put onto me. And here's something else where I said back down the rabbit hole again. How much of it did I allow?
Yeah, exactly.
And that is something I know sometimes gets really sensitive to people, because it's not victim shaming. I was a victim. I'm saying it because it's truth. This is not saying I'm my truth. This is metaphysics. This is psychology. This is where the East and the West meet together. How many things did I allow that I thought were abusive or that I didn't want to do or be a part of, but I didn't say anything. Exactly. And maybe they did put me to fear. Maybe they didn't actually, do anything as far as aggressively attacking, but it was abusive. It was violating to me, but I didn't say anything.
Exactly. Yeah. This is it. I mean, a lot of the time we just never knew, did we? We never knew. And, especially when you're with your carers and they're abusing you, at the end of the day, if you do retaliate, then, what's going to happen to you, because they're your carers, your trusted carers. So absolutely, it's understandable why so many survivors live in fear for the rest of their lives, because, they're just afraid of the unknown. And it's just kind of not being fearful anymore, and actually understanding what happened to you, and just turning that fear around to gratitude, just, thanking the journey that you've been on and the experience.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Do you know what, John? It's been an absolute honor having you on. We are near the ending of our show, and I just wanted to ask to see how my listeners can find you. Like, what channels are you on at the moment?
They can find me on Instagram. It's the experience, and then I'm like it is there. So it's John Goff _the_ experience.
Okay.
And then beyond _conventional _healing. So beyond conventional healing and John Goff experience are my Instagrams.
Okay.
And they can also find me on my business page, and my ads experience on Facebook.
Oh, perfect. Wow. And I will be including all the links in this podcast and YouTube. And wow, thank you so much. You've come such a long way, and I'm truly inspired by your healing.
Thank you so much. It's been a great honor to be on here. I'm just hoping to spread more messages to let people see that there are legitimate people who healing work out there. But the biggest thing I want to leave you with and the listeners, even though I do healing work and people want to call me a healer, I and others, if we are legitimately going to heal people, I cannot take credit. You could thank me. You could say, yes, I helped. That's all I did. But your own healing is yours. And I really hope anybody's looking for healing work or wants things done, they can reach out and I will help you get to the place that you want to be. But in the end, you're the one who's the healer.
I love that. Thank you. So hear that, listeners, you are all your own healers. So just remember that, and please do get in touch with John and connect with him on all of his social media channels. If you have any questions about healing, about meditating, about key energy, because he is the expert. And please do get in touch with myself if you have any questions about this show. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next episode. We love you. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Victim to Victor. Subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes, and be sure to follow the podcast on socials to keep updated on what's next, and share Victim to Victor with family and friends to help grow the community and spread the positive healing energy. You may also wish to join me on the path to self-discovery and sign up to my 12-week self-empowerment plan, which will be linked below.